heard some stuff, but I'm like, that's not exactly right. That's not exactly right. I'm glad I was able to do it. And also, this is getting long. Also, in the church, I said, I'm not going to speak. As you said, everybody's going to be saying the same damn thing. It's like, because we affected all of us more or less the same way, on every level. We all experienced Roger at some point on most levels. So, I said, we don't want to hear the same old thing. I'll just write my thing when I write my thing next week. So some of it's a preview, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for all the support, and thank yourselves for being supportive, because this was definitely a group effort. And he was a little bit stronger. He could have kicked some of that stuff, because he was strong. He could have kicked some of that stuff, but okay, I better close with this, because I'm not going to put this in the paper. I was in there, Maimonides, with Arlene, and Roger started not moving his mouth, like his lips were chapped, because I go in and put chapstick on his lipsticks, to Felicia, Blisticks, and then I'm like, that's all I can do. He's got all this going on, and I'm just taking care of his lips, but, you do what you could do. But Roger started moving his mouth, and he wasn't just moving his mouth like his lips were irritated or something. He's going, like that. And Arlene's talking to you. You want to tell us something? Are you trying to say something to him? So this happened twice. Then it happened after that when I was alone with him, and he was doing it. We're talking about this is almost last day stuff. And I said, Roger, I can't understand what you're saying. And he's doing it some more. I said, and Roger, I don't know if I want to understand what you're saying to me. I really don't know. I don't know. So, then it passed, and he stopped doing it. I'm going to wrap with this. You talked about talking to him, et cetera, et cetera. Did Roger say I beat up on him sometimes? If something wasn't happening the way it was supposed to be, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And she tell Felicia, Jared was yelling at me. But it was something that needed to be done. I had visited him at Downstate. I left, was going to get a haircut. So I'm not that far away. My phone rings. It said, Mr. McAllister, this is Downstate Medical Center. Could you come back to the hospital right away? His status has changed. So I'm like, hospital talk. Is he dead? What does that mean? So let me go back to the hospital and try to find out. So rush back, take an Uber back to the hospital. I get in there. He said, it was his heart stopped. His heart stopped for a few seconds, and we had to revive him. So, I learned then I'm looking at heart attack, cardiac arrest, no heartbeat, and they revived him, okay? I go back into the room, and I'm looking at him, and he looked just the same way I left him. He looked fine, the same way I left him. And I said, they told me what happened, and I'm talking about conversations. I said, we've had conversations about this before. We're trying to get through this, You keep your blood pressure up, do this, do that, and, we can get through this. And then I told him, this heart-stopping shit, we can't have that. That'll ruin everything that we're trying to do here, okay? And I think I ended with something like, listen, man, if it comes to that, I said, I want you in the sunlight, okay? If you see the light, don't walk into that damn light. We're talking about sunlight. You got to walk out of here and walk in the sun. And it seemed stable, and then I left, and came back the next time I could, either before work or after work. So, it's rough. Definitely closing now. I'd close on his phone calls. He'd call, and he would say, my brother, and he meant it. And I mean it too. The end.
Good evening, folks. I'm not going to speak that long because We have a lot of people here. And I want to shed a sort of a different light with the relationship I had with Roger. We went back a long time with, treatment, dialysis treatment and medical care. One thing with him, when he came into our institution, he had a lot of knowledge of what he was supposed to be doing, how he's supposed to do it, when, why, the whole full deal. Because they used to treat themselves at King's Highway. So at that time, patients came in, took care of themselves, took care of their machines, did dialysis, and go home. He did that for years. This is almost, it would have been 40 years this year since he was doing this thing. And I know him for a period of over 30 years. And that's a long time. And we had this personal relationship whereby he understood me, I understood him. Roger just was a special individual in that understanding his body, physically, mentally. And, you have treatment and it's done one way, conventional way, but then there are certain home remedies that you used to put in place to even it out. Everything is good for your body, but you just have to use it in the right way. And he understood that clearly. And then we developed this trust in each other in that when Roger could sleep with you, then it's a big deal, because he always thought that the best keeper for him is himself. So he will look after himself. He never slept in the machine until I started taking care of him so he could get a little nap sometimes. So that is trust in itself. And I felt very special to know that he can do that, because there is one thing that when you come to do a job, you're supposed to do it the right way. There's only one way to do it. And in his profession, he did it the right way also. So we had this bond with each other in that when he sat down and we spoke to each other, I knew every one of his personal friends. He used to go in detail and give a real picture of how and what they are to him, because I think his friends were really, really special people to him because he spoke about them in that way. I knew everyone by name because he was a guy of detail. So I used to give him that gallery, that period to express himself and to say what he had to say. Treatment-wise, we understood each other because we used to relate in this medical term. Whatever he knew, whatever I knew, we put them together and to have the best treatment possible. Now, the treatment in itself has to be uneventful because you don't want complications. So it's one way to do it, the right way, simple as that. And he believed in that, he lived by that, and I admire him for him giving me the opportunity to know him and on a personal level to say, well, you know what I mean, Roger was my friend, a real good friend. A friend in need is a friend indeed. This is how we lived with each other. There is nothing that he wouldn't hesitate to tell me, and there is nothing that I wouldn't hesitate to tell him. I was like the mediator to communicate with administration or with anybody, because he spoke to me in his language, and I had to break it down lighter for everybody else to understand. Because what he was telling me, you know what I mean, it was rough language, you know what I mean, but I had to break it down to them. And everyone, they had that respect to him. They couldn't make mistakes. He would not allow them to make mistakes. You know? So we tried to work with each other. Whatever little mishaps they had, we tried to work it out, and I was between there fixing everybody's problem. So in that way, you know, I mean, he lived for a long time, and he understood what he had to do. Unfortunately, you know, I mean, I know my friend one way, but life is what not all the time you think about, because it wasn't the plan that we had going forward when all this thing happened, you know. Unfortunately, it did happen. But he was a strong guy. And I knew he would have made it if only, you know, I mean, a few things could have gone his way, because everything hit him at the same time. I mean, and he fought through all these adversities, fought through all these sicknesses, all these complications, and he held on. I said, you know something? If this guy had to make it, if the only person in the world had to make it through this, it was Roger Celestin. Unfortunately, at a certain point, I knew that the inevitable would happen. Every time the week passed, another week came, he's still around. I felt good. I said, well, maybe something special will happen. But everything is in God's hands, you know. But I want to remember him as how I knew him. I don't want to see him really in any different state, you know what I mean? So I made myself present here. I didn't come to the church for that reason, you know. So I want to pay tribute to him, because he was a very special person. He was big. He had a special voice. He used to call me, you know what I mean, anytime, anyhow, any day. I responded because I consider him my brother. I will miss him. I will always miss him. And I will always try to carry on his legacy in good faith, however I can. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert, and to my right there is my wife, Mary Ann. I met Roger in '85 at an event that my uncle was putting on, and he and I were in the back talking photography. I had been into photography before, and he was just getting into it, so that was the start of our friendship. And during the years since, we've taken pictures of the marathon, the New York City Marathon, tennis, Pagua. He'd call me to all the events, the Trinidad events that were being held in New York. I'm a Trini, but technically I'm a Yankee. because I left Trinidad when I was 7 and never really went back to live or to do much. So he would be my connection to Trini. And living in Brooklyn, whenever he saw me, he'd have some doubles, he'd bring roti, always have a connection to some island food for me. One of the things the gentleman said before, he would have to translate. He was basically saying he had to translate his passion, because he was always passionate about things, and he let you know how he felt and what he thought about certain things. I saw him, the last time I saw him before this, I had dropped him to the hospital for his procedure on June 22nd, I think, 21st. And, he was looking good. He was walking with his walker, and we had talked about a plan to go around the city and take pictures when he's back up and running. We've, like I said, done things all over the city, and photography was our thing. So I'll miss him. Great person, and we'll miss you.
Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm Roger's nephew. We grew closer in the last couple of years around photography. I've always been interested in it, but it's an expensive hobby to have. When I finally was able to get my skills up, I started to spend more time with him and talk more. And I would say the one thing that I'd always send him work and things that I liked that I thought that he would appreciate, and he would give me critiques and even do some edits on the work that I was, producing. And so he encouraged me to print my work. And over the past few years, he was going through his archive and he was starting to print more. And I remember it was probably around this time last year, or maybe the year before, and he had said, every year he was starting to print more and more of his work, to put together, a book, an archive. And, I had asked him just a question about printing. And I remember he told me just kind of reach, on the couch to my right and see what you find. And it was just all of his work, in this particular year, I can't remember what year, but we were just going through his prints for hours. It'd always kind of take an hour or two on a weekend to come up, and end up being 4 to 6 hours of just us talking, going through work, getting advice, talking about, when he's going to be out next in the field. So, I hope and I plan to do some more printing in his memory.
I'll try to make this very short because most of what's been said covered most of Roger. Personally, I met Roger around almost 40 years now. Knew him in Trinidad by sight, but we never were friends in that way. But he stayed by a very good friend of his mom's, Emerson. And we grew, the friendship grew then. He ended up, as a matter of fact, he's the godfather of my eldest son, who lived in Florida. Anyhow, time went by and we got closer, we pulled along, we took pictures of the family and stuff. And we got involved in a steel band for a little while for this Juve time and stuff. And I didn't realize he took pictures of them, which he had sent to me last year or something like that. But we even got it more to the point, and it's a lot of deja vu here, because my mom passed away a couple of years ago. She was on dialysis because she went to do some procedures. They didn't go right, and she ended up making like 5 serious operations. The last thing is traveling someplace, and the ambulance, she didn't tuck her in properly, and she broke both legs. At 85. and suffered with no painkillers for a month. So I could understand in that sense when I saw how Roger got to a certain point. I mean, nobody wanted to see Roger go. But with all due respect, it gets to a point where you have to tell yourself, let our brother go and rest. If he's not going to get better, it's going to continue to deteriorate, which it was. Let him go in peace. You know, and I prayed for that, not to rush him out, but the point is, I'm sad that he's gone. I'm happy in a sense that no more pain, no more sickness, no more heart racing with medications and all the rest. And we have to look at the whole picture. This is a deep sleep for a long time. Christ resurrected, and every one of us will resurrect. I don't know if you're going to have everlasting life, but every one of us will resurrect. So bringing it home now, a couple of years ago, and this is a real sad time for me because, and I'll make it short for sure, I had a nurse friend of mine who had surgery around the same time that Roger did. Same hospital Roger was in last. Then I heard from Miss Muller that Roger had serious surgery and stuff, and he was in a nursing home. So almost every Saturday after that, I used to make soup for my mom who was still alive. Plus, I would take soup for Roger and my nurse friend. But when my nurse friend got back on her feet and was okay, I said, well, I can't make all these trips. So religiously, every week, I would come and spend either Saturday or Sunday afternoon with Roger. We'll talk about jazz. I'd bring some food for him, and of course, I cook with a little zing with it, and he loved a little zing. So he would enjoy that and stuff like that. And once in a blue moon, he'll have maybe a little touch of scotch. Single malt, of course. Yes, so we had some really nice times. As a matter of fact, about a month before he went in to do this procedure, he made a nice tape for me on jazz, because we were big on jazz too. And one thing I will never forget was his laughter. I mean, I've never heard someone that had such a hearty laugh as Roger did. But overall, he was a hard person. He meant well with everyone. He tried his best. He'll tell you off if he had to. He'll use strong words if he has to. But overall, he was really a blessed person. A pleasure to meet him. And through Roger, I've met a lot of new and very dear friends that I hope that it will continue the way Roger and I stay together. That includes Neil and plenty others here, Arlene and so forth, who I've met. Of course, Kurt, I knew you from in the past. But it's really, really nice that he... And the last thing I would say, there was an outpouring to help Roger financially with his fees and his back raise, and the output that is remarkable. Whenever I took a check downstairs, the lady couldn't believe that it's just friends were doing this. So that's to tell you how special he was. Thanks. All right.
I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has been involved in looking after and caring for Roger. In particular, Mr. Jared McAllister. I want you to give him a round of applause. Because there's no way we can compensate Jared for his selflessness, for his personal sacrifice, for the intermediary role he played. He has been instrumental, he has been supportive, he has been present. At one point in time, when they couldn't get in touch with Arlene, or they couldn't get in touch with me, they would have Jared, and Jared, they would sit him, well, we need a family member. And Jared would say, well, I'm the family member, because I always pushed him. They didn't want to hear that. And he would reach out and contact us. He would contact Adrian, Arlene's son, and he would be there. You heard him say it himself. 1 in the morning, I was worried. What is Jared doing at the hospital? Well, Neil, you know when I finish work, I'll pass by. Any hour of day or night. So much so that one experience he had, that sent him into a tailspin. I said, Jared, you need to slow down. Don't go and get sick, or don't stress yourself, because stress is an invisible thing that you can't tell, because he's going there every single day. And Jared, that is a reflection of the friendship that you developed with Hayden over the years, based on mutual respect, not only being his boss and giving him assignments, but you all developed a friendship. And any friend who has a friend like you cannot want more. It is exceptional. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, and I will speak on behalf of Arlene, that we really, really, really treasure and respect all that you have done to ensure that Roger Hayden Celestin had support and a presence at all times. Thank you very, very much. The next person I want to thank is the Redmonds. Claudia and Andrea Redmond. The lady who has done the catering here and her supportive husband who likes to stay behind and scan the scene and make sure everything is done. He was talking to me and said, you have to be downstairs today to meet and greet people and bring them up and stuff like that. These are the people who Roger chose to be in his life. They have keys for his apartment. And you remember Henry talking about trust? He trusts them with his life. And everybody knew about them. The couple upstairs. Boy, listen, I want you to see that car, boy. Boy, that man is only bringing that car in a summer, boy. Ain't it? If you see that car, boy, that kind of tip-top shape, damn. And the wife? Oh, God. You know, on a Sunday, you know, thing to eat, boy? I sure there are food in the fridge there. You want some? Go in the fridge, you'll get some food. It have there for both of us. Have enough. Because when I come in Monday or Sunday, I am sure I get food. Out of the same food. She used to load him up for food, with food, sorry, and he had no want for food. He had meals Sunday, and he could always tell me on the phone, yeah, you know, she cook, you know. She bring on some food, but I'm going to try something myself. I'm going to cook a little meal for myself. I'm feeling for something. And I'm going to leave that in the fridge, and I'm going to eat that Wednesday. Claudia, again, I know the relationship you developed with Roger was very, very close. And, of course, your husband and Roger's relationship was one where he would have been able to blend in with Roger because Roger is the kind of man that when he takes you into his bosom, he cherishes you. And he cherished both of you. He spoke highly of you. I knew you before I met you. And I only met you about 4 years ago when you wrote the book. And I met you for the first time because he took all the pictures for the page of the book and stuff. And he talked about you for years before that. And his own little world was he meet people, he work for people, he interact with people, and he trust people. But because we cross paths at different times, you wouldn't meet the person, but you'll know all about that person. That it was as if when he spoke, it was a picture that he was taking out. Because the picture he painted of the individual was so detailed. The resolution was so high. You could see the person's color of their eye. He spoke about people's character in describing the person. And for that, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude and love and affection to both you and your husband. Please accept it from me as a friend for all these years who used to come and sit on the couch. And in the last couple of years, since you've been feeding him and you've been collecting the meal, know that I treasure and cherish that. All right? And Arlene understands now with the kind of relationship he developed with people. So on behalf of Arlene and her family, thank you very much. Robert, you know the relationship you had with Hayden. And that was a very unique one. All right? He made sure that you were always in touch with your Trini roots. no matter what, notwithstanding the fact that you weren't there, he would give you the roti, he would call you, you all would talk, and he'll take you on assignments, take you through New York. He loved to carry people to New York. I don't know where he get the energy from it, but he loved to do that. So Robert, thank you very, very much for taking him to the hospital, for being there when he needed somebody to talk to and stuff like that. Thank you so, so much. Henry was Roger's confidant. He confided everything in him. Everything. And his plans for Henry were, we go in Trinidad and we open a dialysis center. We're going to make it happen because he wanted to come home. So God rest his soul. He's going to come home, but not physically able to walk and see and enjoy the stuff he loves. And thanks to Henry, he was able to continue his treatment for many, many years. So Henry, thank you very much. Robert, thank you very much. And last but not least, Orson. Orson said it. Orson would do the soup. He liked to do a kind of pork. I didn't even know Roger used to eat pork. And during one of my frequent trips, I get some pork. No, I don't eat pork, yeah? I eat pork once a year, and then on Christmas morning, I'll get a piece of ham and a slice of bread and taste it. But Orson always tell me, I went to a good school. Because he went to the school down the road from me. I had to walk up the hill. So in biology class, I learned, and I'm going to change some people's eating habits here, that the pig doesn't sweat.